money. But I mean, I have to say that like there are times when I buy something from Amazon, not because I love Amazon, but because it's easy.
because it's
Um,
easy.
but I have tried. The main thing that I try to do with my website is and direct sales is everything is way cheaper than it is on Amazon, like all
Okay.
like half off. And that's basically because then I mean I'm keeping more of the money anyway, so
Right.
it doesn't bother me. But so I have a relatively easy delivery system. I used to use PayHip. I'm not a super big fan of PayHip. Um,
Right.
so now I use a WooCommerce thing with book funnel delivery, and the main thing with book funnel delivery is they have their own app, so people can read in that app, or they can add it to their Kindle, and adding it to their Kindle is really easy
Right.
once you set up everything or whatever. So because that's part of it too is the most popular e-reader is still Kindle. I
Right.
mean that's the thing that a lot of people in the U.S. not overseas, but in the U.S. it's still
Right.
Kindle. Not by as big a margin as it used to be. Um, so for a lot of people, getting it to their Kindle is really important. The easier you make that, the better. But I think it's just a matter of adoption. It's that people
That's
just
what I
have to
think.
get in the mindset of if I buy directly from the author, first of all, they get more money. Second of all, I'm not giving my money to big tech. The other thing is that you actually own your content, and this is
Right.
really it's kind of a new concept to talk to readers about, but you don't own ebooks from Amazon. You don't own audiobooks from ACX. You own the license to use it on their platform. So so it's kind of
I
like
did
when
not
you
know that.
buy an album on Apple Music, you don't own that album. You own the rights to play it on Apple Music. You can't download it and share it with a friend. That's illegal, right? Because they don't have the license to use it. But if you own an album like a record, I can
Right.
ship it to you and say, "Hey Ben, check out this record." And you can play it all day long and ship it back to me, and I can play it, and there's nothing illegal about any of that.
Right.
And so you don't actually own ebooks, but when you download them from an author's website, you actually own them. They're actually yours. You can do whatever you want to with them. Now, I mean, we hope you don't give them away for free to all of your friends because we would like
Right.
to make money. But
Right.
at the same time, like technically, you could. You could give it to 15 of your friends, and because you own that file as soon as you download it from our website. So
Right.
that's another part of the education piece of educating readers is that if you really want to own your content, well, then you have to buy it from a place that allows you to own it. And Amazon and those other retailers don't do that. That's not how it works.
Interesting.
So,
Question though,
yeah.
if you're gonna use a lower price on your direct sales platform, and um, does it won't Amazon get wind of that and say no, you can't do that. It's got to be the same price, or we're going to lower the
No,
price on Amazon.
at least not so far. The biggest thing is like my website is not big enough for Amazon to be scanning my website looking for my prices, right?
I see.
Because I have a small enough following. Now, if suddenly I had 5 million people buying off my website, Amazon might pay attention to that. They pay
Right.
attention to the major retailers, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books, all that kind of stuff. So everywhere, including all of those places, my books are priced higher than they are on my website
Okay.
everywhere. So the cheapest place to buy my ebooks is on my website. Now, so far, Amazon, at least as far as we know, we haven't seen it happen with any authors, isn't coming to an individual author's website and say, "Oh, you're selling that book for, you know, $3.99. We're going to mark your books on Amazon down to $3.99." So far, they're not doing that. Could that happen in the future? Possibly. I don't think. I think it's just too small of a thing for Amazon to go after. I don't think it's important
Okay.
enough to them.
All right.
So
Because when I
that's
was
what I think.
pricing my book, all right, when I was pricing my books, I was like, well, I better keep it the same price. Um,
Yeah.
but I'll try it. I'll definitely lower it a
Yeah.
little bit on the pay. And also, you can use more than one. You can use several direct payment platforms. I've been told, so that's
Yep.
cool too.
You can. Yeah, you can use several of them and give your people. The reason I use it through WooCommerce, or a lot of people are using Shopify, is
Yeah,
people can pay via PayPal, they can pay by credit card, they can pay by Venmo, they can pay Apple Pay, they can. I mean,
right,
I don't care what payment method they use, because it all works the same for me, and the fees are all about the same. And if you think about it, I'm getting maybe between a 2 and 3% credit card fee versus
right,
Amazon taking 35%.
right.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I'll eat that fee all day long. So
sure.
yeah,
Absolutely. All right, good. That sounds good. And I do think it's a mindset with some of these people. They're like, my credit card's already on Amazon. I don't feel like going to get my wallet. It's just click, one click, and that's the
yeah.
deal. You
Well,
know,
that's it. And so one of the things is like you can enable in the background, you can enable people to save payment methods on your website, and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is it's only one author. On Amazon, they can browse however many different authors, doesn't even matter.
right,
Um,
right,
and on your website, they can browse one. And so there's some
right,
interesting ideas floating around out there for um, basically what we would say is the next Amazon, only better, because we're looking to. There's a lot of us that we want to change the mentality of Amazon used to for a while. It was all about books. And then Amazon changed with all their e-commerce and all that kind of stuff. And so now
right,
books have become very much a secondary thing for Amazon. Where if instead books were the focus, like they used to be, first of all, authors would get better attention. There's better options. So there's some new options out there that we're exploring, and we'll see what happens. But there is going to be a next. Even Bezos knows there's going to be a next after Amazon. Amazon is not forever, and especially when it
right.
comes to books, I think there's all kinds of other options, and those are what I'm looking at. Is what's next? What's next?
Well, what is next?
Well, okay, so there's a
Aside from
project I'm
direct
involved with.
sales.
There's a project I'm involved with which is called Author Zen, and it's basically a setup that's similar. It's different because it's not only do you want to add your books for sale on that website because it's closer to direct sales, but it's like assisted direct sales is almost what I would call it. But there's also a community component that is being built into that so that people can reach out to authors can reach out, and you actually as an author you get the emails of the people who bought your book
Right, that's important.
because that's important because now you can communicate directly with those people, but the readers also get access to the authors. They have a community chat where they can chat with the authors whenever the author wants to set up a chat or whatever, or you have a page similar to your Facebook page or whatever, but it's the book sales and the community all on one platform. And it's in development, so I'd say it's a ways off as far as like actually having that community, but beta testing will start probably within the next 3 to 4 months of that type of platform. And for authors, it lets you go, okay, yeah, I want to sell direct, but selling direct is a lot of work. So why don't I have somebody else help me do it and set it up on their site because they're
Right,
smarter than I am or whatever. Um,
right,
on the reader side, the plan is to have more tags and so a more transparent algorithm where you can control better what that algorithm shows you by choosing like certain tags, certain genres, stuff like that. Like this is what I want to see, this is what I don't want to see, and so you don't get Amazon or whoever shoving everything down your throat. You just get what you want
right,
to look at. So it
right,
narrows the field for readers and gives them a just more direct access to not only books but to the authors themselves and similar to people who buy it from your website, for instance, they own the book. Like they own the file of the book.
right.
It's your book. You own it. And so I think the biggest things coming up are ownership, privacy, and control, giving readers and authors both control over what they share and what they see. And
Right.
it's just and how much an author makes. I mean, you choose your price. You make whatever you want, and it's with a much lower fee structure than Amazon's currently, with the idea that even if you don't have as high of a profit margin, the way Amazon used to make up for that was in volume. They had tons and tons of books, right? Well, now they got tons and tons of books that are not selling because the author's not putting in any effort or whatever the
Right.
case may be. So they've got this huge infrastructure they've got to maintain with stuff that's not selling. So
Right.
it'll kind of be one of those things that the gatekeeper won't necessarily be, we're going to check the quality, we're going to check all this stuff about your book, but the gatekeeper will be, can you go through the work and can you afford to do this and set up your books on the site? And once you do, well, yeah, you're going to make money off of it, but we're not going to open the floodgates to, you know, Joe Public guy who just wants to throw his memoir up
Right.
online to sell it or whatever. Um, that's not. I think there's a balance between opening the floodgates all the way, like Amazon and other places have done, and being gatekeepers like the big five publishers. I think there's a balance there, and that balance is going to be hard to find. But I think that's what the future is really is going to be groups and communities of authors that work together and go, hey man, we're going to all group together and sell our books in one place so readers can find them, but they can find exactly what they're looking for. It gives them control and gives them ownership, and then you as an author gives you ownership of the data that comes from those customers. You
Right.
get their email address, you get to talk to them. So
Yeah.
that's I think it's a win-win on both sides for authors and readers. And it's a change from Amazon. Amazon likes to keep those customer lists all to themselves. They don't want to give you that
Yeah.
information. And it's really valuable information, but it's not hard to do. I can give it to an author with a touch of a button of here's the people that bought your book. So there's no reason that can't happen. So I think that's really the Amazon killer is going to be the things that have transparency and control in the hands of the readers and authors and take that away from big tech. So
Yeah. And what's the name of this organization again?
it's called Authors Zen.
Author Zen.
Zen. AuthorZen. And right now it's just a landing page where you can enter your email, say, yeah, I'm
Right.
interested in being part of the beta test because it's
Author
not even
Zen.
to the point where you can beta it, but it's being built in the background. It's kind of like there's lots of stuff happening there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And even if for whatever reason, I mean, it's a solid company. I see it doing things and going places, but even if it doesn't, some other companies similar, or probably several different companies that are going to be like that, will emerge. It's just
Yeah.
the future of what publishing is going to look like, because basically readers and authors are tired of the big tech and their control. I am. I mean,
Yeah.
I tell people I don't speak out like overly vocally against Amazon. I'm not going to pick it outside them because they still pay a large part of my income,
Right.
but I don't love them. Amazon, I know, is not the future answer for me. Amazon is temporarily where we have to sell our books because that's
Right.
where people buy them. But there
Right.
are alternatives, and the more those alternatives happen, and the more those emerge, the better off
Right.
we'll all be, really.
Right. They were, I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they were so instrumental in creating this indie revolution.
Mm-hmm.
It just changed everything. And now it's become almost like a necessary evil. And definitely looking for a change, definitely looking for the next step, in the
If they
evolution of
lost sight of what they were doing initially, like what was the reason for opening up the floodgates? What was the reason for letting people in? And 100% of that reason was not profit. There were other reasons as well. They wanted to buck the system. They wanted to change things. But now it's become, well, it's Amazon is just doing their garbage thing again. They're changing the algorithm, whatever, and now it's all about the money. And it's become a pay to play game. The way you get sales
Yeah.
on Amazon, you run Amazon ads. Okay,
Right.
great. I'm going to spend money to sell my stuff on Amazon, who's also making profit from my stuff.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that, right?
Right. I'm not either.
However, do I run Amazon ads? Yeah, of course I do. I want to make money.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? But
Right.
I'm like, is that the solution that I'm looking for? Nah, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's not the
Yeah.
solution I'm looking for at all. So
It's funny because, hey, Wayne, there's my editor. Hi, Wayne. uh, like I stopped basically. I mean, I advertise a little bit at the beginning of the month, and then once what I budgeted runs out, I don't, I don't use it at
Yeah,
all
up your
anymore.
budget. Yeah.
And instead, I put out, at least one or two things a month, and that seems to jolt light a fire under my personal algorithm anyway, if such a thing exists.
Yeah.
And then
Okay, well,
it
that
becomes
works
a
for-
numbers game.
Yeah, and that works for people that have a following. If you're brand new starting out, just releasing a couple things a month isn't going to work for you because you don't have that following of fans yet that are going to buy
Right.
stuff. But if you have
Right.
a following, you're releasing something, even once a month, once every couple months, even, you're still pretty good in pretty good shape. But the whole rapid release model, in fact, I'm doing a workshop on this relatively soon with Johnny B. Truant, about
Good.
how rapid release died in like 2018, really.
Right.
As far as its effectiveness, especially for new people, for new authors. And I would question whether it worked for everybody even then, but that's a whole other discussion. Right. But you know what I mean? Like that really died in like 2018. Well, we are 6 years later, and there are new authors that are still trying to do that. And they're using AI even to pump out tons of books. And they're like, it's not working. That's because you don't have the quality, number one,
right.
And you don't have a following. You don't have the name, so that doesn't work for you, right? Because we as readers, like, I love to try new authors, right? I want to see your indie thriller, and I want to check it out, right? And I want to read stuff by new authors. But there's times when I buy stuff by tried and true authors that I know, because I know what I'm going to get. It's like when you're traveling, you go to McDonald's, right? Because you're going to get mediocre food, but at least it's not going to give you it's not going to send you into fits and run into the bathroom every 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
So you do that. Like, I'll buy Starbucks. I don't like Starbucks coffee, but I will buy Starbucks coffee when I'm in a town that I don't know because it's predictable. It's mediocre, but it's predictable. So some authors that I know, they're not even mediocre, but they're predictable. I know I'm going to get something good. Right? And so I go buy their book because I take that chance on that indie thriller, and sometimes I have to go, oh man, what the hell did I just buy? Right? And so for authors, it's also about quality, man. It's about keeping up the quality of what you're doing.
Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Do stuff quick, but man, make it good. And there's all kinds of ways to make it better nowadays. There's so many tools out there that are so quick. That'll make your job as an author so much easier. Use them for the love of all that's holy. Don't just throw stuff out into the world. There's no reason to do it. Anyway,
yeah, I agree. I like to think, and I know you do the same, I like to think that my books, the covers, the presentation, the words, the story is better. On my indie stuff I'm talking about, is better than what I'm doing, with the traditionally based model. And because I think it has to be if you're going to survive and
it has to be. And the truth is, like, in my experience, like, I have better indie editors. Hi, Wayne, indie editor. But like,
sure.
I have better indie editors than I ever had with a publishing house.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Because they're better. I find them myself. They're better. They're more motivated to be high quality because they know I can fire them any minute and go find another one, right? And not that I'm going to do that, right? Like, I love my editors. I'm not going to do that, but they know they have to live up to quality too, because their quality is tied to my quality, is tied to my income. If I stop making money on my books because you did a shitty job editing, you're fired. To be honest, you're fired.
Yeah.
Because I have to. This is the thing I have to do, right? Like, there's. I do author education and write stuff, and that's how I make my money. So I have to do well at both of those things, or I don't eat.
Right.
So
exactly.
That's to me, that's the biggest thing, is those editors know the same thing. They have to do well at editing, or they don't eat.
Right.
All right, then let's do well at editing. How about that? That's a good idea, right?
And listen, newbies.
Your jobs.
Right. And listen, newbies, if you think you're just gonna put it up on Grammarly and it's gonna take care and read through it. I mean, Wayne finds stuff like, I'm like, how did I miss that? Like, I'll miss whole words, or I'll switch words. And I'm sure you, as one of my editors, like, oh, Vin did this
Oh
the
yeah.
Vin thing again, and you just
Oh
your
yeah.
eyes,
I mean,
you know.
I can predict when you turn in an article, I can predict almost exactly what I need to do, right? But
Right,
it doesn't matter to you because that's why I exist. Is I
right,
edit it and make sure it, you know what I mean? But
sure,
like, you aren't going to catch some of those things by just running through Grammarly or whatever. You have to look at
right,
things. Like you have to look at in the SEO stuff that we do. You have to look at how the author is inserting some of that text because otherwise
right,
it doesn't work. Like it
right,
doesn't work anyway. So
right.
yeah. Anyway.
And in fact, I was using this other person for years, and she's a sweetheart. She's a very good writer on her own. I don't even know if she edits anymore, to be perfectly honest. But she was extremely expensive, very expensive, and it was prohibitive for me. Like I could only put out like 4 books a year on my independent side. So now, because Wayne does it basically for love of the game, I pay him, um, but he got my attention because for about 3 years straight, every time I put a book out, he'd send me a list of edits. And I'm like, well, I just spent $1,100 having this edited. So I like, I resisted, I'm like, this can't be, this can't possibly be. Until finally I was like, you know what? The guy's trying to tell me something here, and,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everything's working out much better. And it was the same with the covers. Now I'm doing much better covers for far less money because for a change, I did my due diligence and shopped around a little bit. I used to just be like, all right, I found somebody, I'll just pay it,
Yeah,
Uh,
I
you get
had the same cover designer for years, and my cover designer retired, and I'm like I don't want to find another cover designer because
I know,
I'm lazy in that way,
yeah,
right? Like I just want to
sure,
find somebody and just use them forever, right? But the truth is, it doesn't work that way in this game, right? It just
right,
you have to keep resetting and all that kind of stuff, and so I'm actually happy to do that now because I'm like, well, some of my books need new covers and I need new stuff going on, and
right,
I just re-released one of my old books. I need something new, so
right,
you got to just you have to do it. It's part of the game, and I love it. But I'm like, you have to up that quality. You have to go. Okay, I want my covers to be the very best that they can be. I go to
absolutely,
workshops about it all the time just so I learn more about what's happening with it right now, not what was happening with it 10 years ago, because it's not the same. It's just not the
right,
same. Not the same
right.
game.
Speaking of McDonald's, I always get this urge when I come back from Europe, like because I eat so well there, like meaning the food is fresh. I'm like, I got to get some junk in me, like the way we're geared,
Oh,
right? I got to run through McDonald's. And so the other night, I run through McDonald's and like the usual, like the number one, like the Big Mac fries and
yeah.
like, and they're like, all right, pull up to the second window. I pull up to the second window. The guy's like, $15.50, please. I almost drove off.
Yeah.
I was almost like, I don't want it. Like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit.
Well, yeah. When that's the thing is when they start paying people more, and look, I'm all for paying a living wage. Like the minimum
Right.
wage thing is stupid, right? There's
Yeah.
no where I live, which is you would think would be fairly affordable, is not affordable
Right.
for somebody that's making minimum wage. There's absolutely no way
Right.
they can make their money because minimum wage
Right.
is not kept up. It hasn't been raised, right? But I'm like, the result is that prices haven't gone up either. So we're not used to going to McDonald's and going $15 for a burger. It's like when I went to Hawaii, man, the best poke I've ever had was like $9 for 2/3 of a pound of poke on top of rice. I mean, it was awesome. It was
Yeah.
amazing, right? Best poke I've ever had in my life. I cannot get poke in this town for $9.
Right.
But I'm not on an island. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like there's
Yeah.
I'm a ways from the ocean and they're
Right.
paying people better, so I have to pay more for my food. And actually, I'm the kind of person I'm okay with paying more for my food if I know that person can actually, I don't know, afford a house and stuff like
Right.
that.
Right.
Um,
And if it's good.
but at
Yeah.
the same time, and if it's good, man, I'm kind of picky about it being good. Although there are times when, like I say, when you're traveling, sometimes a McDonald's burger is like just what you need. Like, I know it's going to be a mediocre quarter pounder, but I know what it is. At least it's
Yeah.
what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So
I know. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Any before we close out, any more on this Dawson situation and the plagiarism thing? I haven't seen much or heard much.
actually, no, it's just kind of it's faded into the background, but there is somebody new that's kind of taken over his self-publishing school and is sending out the emails and stuff like that. So his name is no longer on it in the same way that it once was.
Right.
So that's, I mean, I think Dawson will remain in the background doing stuff like that. I just think some of his days of being the public face of that,
Right.
at least for a while, have gone away because he lost a certain amount of respect in the writer community when he did that. So, and
Yeah.
part of it is that is stupid is it's not that his material in his course isn't good. That isn't the issue, because some of it is. I have all kinds of opinions on that. That's probably a whole different talk, um, like a whole different podcast. But
Sure.
it's not that the material isn't good. It's that he ruined his reputation by betraying the trust of the people that had said, "Hey, this guy knows what he's talking about." And we're like, "Yeah, he knows what he's talking about because he's taken from other people." And that's,
Right.
so he broke that trust, and it's going to be really hard for him to overcome that. And
Yeah.
because your trust is your currency in this game too. Readers have to be able to trust that you're going to put out a decent book. Otherwise, they're going to buy it from somebody else, right? And
Right.
so, in his case, he just blew that trust not only with the author community but with the readers of his books. And so he's going to have a really difficult time making a comeback, I think, from that.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens, but there's no more headlines because basically he didn't necessarily apologize or anything like that. He just faded into the background. He just stepped
Right.
back into the background, which is probably the best thing he could have done. So,
Right. Right. And Johnny B. Truant, is he still with the Sterling and Stone organization? Or?
No, I think I'm not sure exactly how that all separate, but so he's kind of separate from that. And so he's kind of doing his own thing. He's got a Substack that's called Inspired as Fuck. It's a great Substack. He's got a podcast going on, but he's like me in that I think we need to change some of the discussions in the author community and the way we talk about author success and how you get it, because I think people are being sold they're being sold formulas and ideas that don't work anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they just don't work anymore. But somebody's saying, "Hey, if you take my $500 course, I'm going to show you how to do this." You take the $500 course, but it doesn't give you material of what actually works now. It's something that worked 5 years ago. Well, the
Sure.
game has completely changed. So I'm like, so anyway, so Johnny and I are both really passionate about going, "Hey, man, this was the old way of doing things, the old way of thinking, and that's great, that's wonderful, but that's not the reality that we live in right now."
Right. And when is this
So
taking place?
it is going to be, oh geez, I'll have to send you a link. It's going to be, let me check my calendar because I feel like an idiot.
Yeah. If you send me a link, I'll get it. I'll put it on the. I'll put it below.
Yeah, I'll send you a link, but it's going to be in, I believe it's like the first week in May.
Oh, great! So soon.
Third week in May. Third week
Okay.
in May.
We're a month from
I'll
now.
send you dates and like a link for where people can sign up and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, it's going to be a great talk. Like I say, we started talking about this in November, and we've put some stuff together, and so it's basically it's going to be two old guys talking about writing and how it's changed and what we think the future kind of looks like, and it'll be good stuff.
Yeah, I've always liked their stuff. All right. So where do you want people to go to find you?
Go to TroyLambertWrites.com. Actually, I'll put a link to that Johnny thing there as soon as I have it as well, and I'll send it to you to put it in your show notes and your all that kind of stuff. You feel free to email it to people or whatever you want to do with it. But
right,
it'll be a blast. But yeah,
and
TroyLambertWrites.com is where you can find me, or Google me on all the socials. I'm everywhere. So
I will make sure to have you back, say a few days or the week before this happens, for your monthly pulse on the whatever, and you can really play that one up, because I really respect. I don't know Johnny, but I really respect him, and I really respect you. So I'm looking forward to this one.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, man.
All right,
Appreciate
brother.
it, Vin.
Thanks for stopping by, and for everybody. Thanks, Wayne, and for everybody else.